I want to welcome everybody to this webinar today. We're going to dive into the success layer. I'm Courtney Schwarten, and I'll be bringing my background in education and change management to the conversation today, keeping things practical and doable. And this session is essentially about one simple shift, moving the focus from program-centric to a more guided career journey that members can actually feel. And doing this with the tools that you already have. Before we start, I have a question for you, and this is using chat for everybody. If you had to pick one, what is the pressure point right now that you're really feeling? Engagement, retention, credential value, non-dues revenue, or proving impact? So go ahead and add that to the chat. We'd love to get a sense of where you all are right now with that. And I'm going to also let Josh introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Josh Slyman. I work in marketing and communications here at WebScribble, and I have quite a bit of experience with the association tech stack, previously working at Higher Logic and before that in Forms. So I love to bring those perspectives together. Today, we're going to share a framework that you really can use across platforms. Again, that's really the intention here is to provide platform agnostic framework that can really help you figure out how to use career stages and career signals to increase and quantify, our impact as association leaders. Really, the goal here is to make your ecosystem behave more like a coordinated experience, right? So members know the steps, staff and teams have a common and shared strategy, and so really sort of trying to give you some frameworks and some steps to help facilitate that.
And Josh, I'm seeing over in this chat so much about engagement, some retention, a little bit about proving impact. And from what I know about the presentation that we're about to do here, we're going to be hitting on a lot of that. What do you think?
Great. That sound like it.
Yes, yes. And one thing I do want to add to this is that your members really are likely already telling you what they need. And this webinar is about how to make that actionable.
Absolutely.
Now, here is our agenda today. First, the engagement ecosystem, the tech and the tools that you already have, and we're going to lay out the big picture, how the landscape is changing, and how associations have the power and the opportunity to stand out by fostering the member career journey. We're going to dive into the career journey map, the success layer framework, and how to make data actionable without being overwhelming.
And we'll hit on some common roadblocks, some next steps, and a simple analysis you can run with your internal teams to help facilitate those next steps. So if you've joined one of our webinars in the past, you may have seen this. This is a graphic I use regularly. I think it really helps to set the stage. We're looking essentially at the association engagement ecosystem, right? This is a typical example. I know some of you may have more or less of this, but essentially this is the tech stack, right? And this is really how we as associations drive and deliver our member benefits digitally. So there's opportunity here to better connecting sort of these pieces and using career as the organizing thread. Career is really where member value becomes extremely tangible, right? By driving direction and readiness, validating, providing opportunity and advancement, and ultimately influence. And again, so across our ecosystem, most of us are using an AMS, right? We've got a public facing website where we are sharing a lot of information, but then we probably also have a member login wall, and behind that login wall, there's probably an LMS, learning management system. You may have a community platform. You probably have a job board, maybe an events module. And of course, we're all using social media sort of for prospecting and amplification. And really, one of the points that I want to sort of drive home is that there's really lots of opportunities across these technologies to integrate both technically, like the actual technology, but also strategically. Many have, say, advertising or display spaces. I know Higher Logic has an advertising display space, as does other community platforms and job boards, right? So if we think about how do we leverage that ad space together and more strategically to drive value for either our members by delivering access and tools via those display spaces, or by expanding sponsorship opportunities, really becomes a powerful tool set, especially again when we sort of think about how do we use widgets and feeds and share and move that information and members across that ecosystem in order to deliver that value.
I find it always useful to kind of look at that ecosystem again and just kind of get reminded of all the pieces that are working together all the time, whether you're directly touching them or not yourself. And here's one actionable tip for you all. If you do not already have one, create a career hub page in your member portal. Because if nothing else changes, that one navigational anchor can really reduce friction immediately.
Yeah, that's a great early tip.
Now, this concept works because it brings together your cross-functional goals. Membership and marketing, you all want acquisition, retention, and relevance. If you're in education, you're probably looking for completion and outcomes. Credentialing, you all want value protection. And career center teams are looking for adoption and repeat use. Revenue teams, how about some year-round employer value?
Absolutely. And ultimately the reason this works, the idea here is that it delivers multiple outcomes at once. This is really key, right? We're driving member value, we're helping members progress and move forward. We're driving organizational impact around engagement, around revenue, around retention, new member acquisition. Uh, Ultimately, our partners and our employers get increased value, visibility, verified readiness, and targeted reach within a very subsegmented group of talented individuals. And then, of course, we're impacting the industry as a whole. We're driving standards, workforce quality, pipeline health, and so really, ultimately, career success for members drives organizational success. It drives industry impact, and that's why this approach really is super impactful.
Absolutely. And we're seeing this more and more and more. I got another tip for you all. When you are presenting any of this information internally, it's a really good idea pardon me, to position this approach as a cross-platform strategy. So it's not a new tool or a new program, a cross-platform strategy to really help earn that buy-in from executives and other internal team members.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the big piece is here, all of these parts are generally already exist, and we want to make sure that we're connecting the dots and thinking cross-functionally, cross-platform, and then looking to drive the member value, the organizational impact, the employer partnership value, and then ultimately the association is here to have impact on the industry as a whole. So we want to make sure that we're using the tools at hand to do exactly that.
So how we start to really dive into this is using this map. And this is a map with the six stages of the member career journey. And we got a little quick clarification here. We're not actually asking you to create six new departments or any new programs. What we're really suggesting is that you define and label the things that you already do and then look at how you guide members through that, with each stage offering members more individualized, personalized support.
Yeah. So explore, right, is an opportunity to prospect for new members, right? Especially those who find us via the Career Center. But really, when people are in that sort of explore stage, they are looking for direction, they're looking for community, they're looking for information and access, right? as they move from that into this prepare stage, they really are looking for more planning, more direction, and support to actually build and advance those industry skills that you all hold so much influence and impact over. And validate, ultimately that comes down to like really aligning with credibility, using the association, their membership with the association to show and create credibility that is recognized in the industry and by employers in order to advance their own individual career path.
Yeah, so once they take all of that, then they apply that to really land that next role or get a better role. And then advancing. This has to do with what's next. How do people specialize? How do they move into leadership? And then for mentoring. This is where contribution becomes really important for folks. They've been around for a while, they've seen some things going on, they want to be recognized for what they bring to the table, and they actually, many want to help shape the profession and shape what's next. Now, if you only remember one thing at this point, the goal is stage momentum. What that really means is a member should always know where they are, what's next, and why that matters.
And a great first one is simply assigning stage labels to existing assets and journeys, right? You all already have life cycle communications, programs, things that already exist. Again, we're not asking you to recreate the wheel. We're asking to sort of align and bucket the pieces so that we can better use that information to advance members on a more individual and personalized basis.
Time to get out that label maker. So what is the success layer? You've been talking about that. That's the name of the part of the name of the webinar. It's not a new platform. It's really like the connective tissue that uses career behavior as signals and as metrics so that really the right next step shows up in the right channel and then successes become identifiable.
Yeah. Ultimately, in one sentence, we want to interpret career behavior as a signal, right? Then update the stage and preferences for the member, then trigger relevant next steps across the channels. And ultimately, a lot of this can be done with integrations and technology. Some of it may need to be executed with more pragmatic manual processes like some exports or tags. But let's be honest, we don't wait for perfect integrations, but AI and automation is changing rapidly, and there are so many tools now that connect our data and our action and make behavior more visible, more triggerable. So it's certainly possible to connect these systems with individual integrations across those platforms as they exist. But also by looking at some outside tools in helping to draw some connections and to bring some of these data points together.
And if you're not the one to do the exploration, sometimes there's somebody else on your team, likes to learn the new stuff. See if they can help you out. Yeah.
Courtney.
Uh, and here's a little, as we're on this slide now, here's a little hopefully encouraging change management tip. Teams often fall into that trap of trying to capture all of the data. And then it's easy to get overwhelmed and then abandon that plan. So, really, in order to be effective with data, keep in mind that less really is more. Your aim is for actionable data that gives you the triggers to build and encourage momentum. Get really specific and focused about the data you need to collect.
Yeah, and I think that this slide's important. The backbone of this idea really is sort of the member profile, right? So at a minimum, we want to use that member profile to help identify the stage that they're in, right? Let them identify the pathways that they're interested in. What role level are they at? Where are they in our credentialing status? Are they seeking employment? Are they hiring? How engaged are they with the career resources across our platforms, right? Like becomes a very actionable data set and allows for us to personalize, recommend education, push credentialing nudges, and adapt the member experience to the individual. And so if you do nothing else, my suggestion is to add two fields to your AMS or your member record, right? Career stage and pathway or specialized interest. These two alone unlock segmentation, personalization, and a better journey for your members.
Hopefully, looking at this map again, it really gives you some permission to simplify because honestly, you don't need 200 data points. Again, less is more, and focus on those few signals, the data that really demonstrates and shows that member movement.
Yeah. So to think of signals in like super plain language, in Explore, we want them to choose a direction. In Prepare, we want them to complete learning milestones. In Validate, we want them to work on certifications. In Apply, we want to help them find new opportunities. In Advance, we want to acknowledge their specialization and help them move into leadership. In mentoring, we want to help them contribute to the profession, to the industry as a whole.
Love it. And as we move forward, we're going to dig into these and talk about defining these signals and making them very actionable. We're going to do our best to keep it simple and create a shared list where we've really got 10 to 15 signals maximum. Now, if you can't act on it, don't track it. It's a great little piece of advice there. What do you think, Josh?
Absolutely. Absolutely
Important.
don't. It's amazing how often we put time and into creating systems and collecting information that ultimately never gets leveraged. So really we want to keep it simple, but we want to keep it actionable and we want it to be impactful.
Okay, now we're going to talk stakeholders for a moment. Your board. Your board, they really don't want 20 or 30 or 40, 50. I mean, who knows? You at all these different activity metrics, you want to bring that down because really what they're looking for, they want to understand the impact that you're having.
Yeah, and so that's what's nice about this framework is it allows you to report in multiple layers on member impact. Where are we with activation, readiness, credentials, advancement, contribution, organizational impact. How are we using this to drive new members, to deepen engagement, to increase retention, and to drive revenue? Across the industry, we're impacting employers, creating new pipeline signals, driving repeat participation, helping to define standards and trends across the industry.
Yeah, and there's really this draw to report out program volume. And you want to move from that to really reporting on the movement of those members on the career path. Over and over again, we're seeing that this is very important. And how many of those members moved forward in a quarter? And what are the next stage needs? Those are great pieces to report on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, same map, different angle. Now we're going to take a look stage by stage because every stage has four ingredients for you to be aware of here. It's an easy way to look at it. One, a member need. Two, cross-functional goals. Three, a few deliverables. And four, a small set of success signals. Not that,
And
not that
you'll
much.
you'll notice we keep sort of coming back to our same ecosystem connectors, right? The AMS, the
Mhm.
website, community, career center, and ultimately looking across those platforms and identifying impactful, but a few impactful triggers that matter.
Okay, let's go into this explore stage. This is your members or your non-members' first 30 days. And this is where they're going to decide if your association actually gets them or not.
Yeah. Exploring members or non-members again, because this stage is
Mhm.
ripe for new member prospecting. This is one of those opportunities to bring in young next generation, new people into the industry, people who are out searching and come across the Career Center through Google search or through other opportunities. This is a great way to start to create a new member pipeline by identifying and fostering some non-members in this first 30-day stage. Of course, we also, this is also impactful for members too. So we certainly don't want uh, to dismiss the fact that we need to sort of use it for a dual approach here. But really, exploring members, non-members, they're looking for direction, they're looking for community, they need information, they need access. Um, Also, we want to use this stage, right, to drive acquisition, early stickiness, and to get market insight. And for our employers, for our partners, the value comes out in visibility, in access, and in creating a future pipeline awareness for employees, right? Having and the opportunity to speak with and impact people early in their career helps those partners define and have an impact as well. And it becomes a potential sponsorship opportunity, a deepening relationship between a potential partner or employer and the association. And then ultimately, obviously, too, we're going to see that impact across the industry and helping to set early standards and helping to define professional identity. And this really becomes impactful as we build going forward.
And Josh, as I'm hearing you talk, I'm sure that there are a lot of people that are kind of nodding their heads that yes, this is the stuff, some of the stuff that we know and we hear and we pay attention to. And I think part of what we're really trying to do today is also let you know that these are places to look in and make sure you're hitting all these points. And if you are looking at these different stages and we're looking at the explore stage, pay attention to if that is strong or weak in what you're able to actually accomplish. You know what you might want to do. Are you doing all of these things? Now, if the explore stage is weak, everything downstream costs more. From your marketing, the marketing efforts increase, onboarding gets harder, and retention suffers. These are things you might already have noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. Helping to really define the value and to give people a starting point early in the relationship really helps to decrease those ongoing costs going forward.
Very true. Very true. Now, something to keep in mind, we're not trying to impress members with volume. Really, instead, it's about giving them direction and a first sense of belonging and giving them that sense really quickly right out of the gate.
Yeah, exactly. The win in Explore is pretty simple. It's really capture intent early and then use it everywhere. If somebody chooses a pathway or even browses a few roles, that's a signal, right? Put it in your member record. Now your ecosystem is smarter. You can provide more personalized and individualized next steps, calls to action to those individual members. Always great idea to use pathway choice to personalize that first 30 days, right? What they see in when they log into their member portal, what community spaces they're invited to, which orientation content you recommend. And another nice thing is to create an easy first win, right? Something that we can understand, the simple call to action, something like join the career path group or attend Career Paths 101 or complete this short role-based orientation, right? One step, not five. Move people forward relatively quickly. When you do that, members get value, they get the clarity, they get the belonging, and you get organizational value, better activation, less email noise, more purposeful, and earlier engagement.
Love it. Love it, Josh. Okay, I think we're ready to talk about the next stage now. Prepare. Prepare is where you're converting interest into progress. Members really don't want more choices. I just had to buy toothpaste the other day. Way too many choices in the toothpaste aisle. Members, same thing. They really don't want more choices. They want a path with direction. There's
Yeah.
opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely. Your members are looking for a defined plan, and ultimately the support to help build skills and to help walk that pathway, that plan to fruition. And the association's looking to drive engagement, retention, member momentum, right? This is a great place in the prepare stage to help move those things along. Partners, employers, they start getting clearer skill signals. They get access to better prepared, more better prepared candidates across the entire industry. And ultimately, we're creating a stronger baseline of competence for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, and there's some good news here where you don't actually, and we're talking about a lot of different things, but you don't need to recreate the wheel. You already have a lot of resources, right? And you can package your existing learning opportunities into these defined pathway plans.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Again, we want you to leverage what already exists. What we want is for the underlying this success layer, this underlying data and ability to activate to help drive the success of the tools and the resources that you all provide, and to help you fill gaps where there are some, identify and fill some content gaps.
So hopefully this is good news so far.
Yeah.
Okay, now the success layer and using that to turn member learning into that momentum we're talking about. You do not need perfect analytics. Really, what to look for are a few signals, some data, behavioral data that tell you, did they start? Are they moving? And did they stall? Three important questions.
Yeah. When a member starts a plan or completes a milestone, we want to make that next step show up in a couple of places at least, right? For example, in their portal and deliver an email. Same prompts, two channels. We want to look for and we want to look for the opportunities, and we want to be where the member is. And so almost never is it best to just deliver that information one time in one place. Really, reiteration and multi-channel multi-platform approach really does help drive the value and connect the dots for the member. And that's ultimately how education becomes this retention engine, right? And how you have the ability to build impact that you can actually talk about credibly, and take ownership of, by driving those end goals and helping move customers forward in that prepared stage, right? It really allows the association to take ownership for that growth.
And Josh, I just want to reiterate something that you said that I thought was it's really a thread throughout this whole webinar is be where the member is. I love that. But in order to be there, you got to know where they are. And that's where we go back to the labeling. So,
Yeah.
labels, back into that map. Validation, this phase, this stage. Validation is about protecting that credibility. And this is where your education, credentialing, and the career outcomes are all going to intersect.
Yeah. Your members are looking for credibility, and visibility that employers recognize. And the association is looking to protect their credential value, right? And to grow participation and, and to improve their ability to impact. Employers, they're looking for reduced screening friction, better candidates, and ultimately, these things drive higher standards across the entire industry. And again, so we have all of this layered impact that we get to surface and take ownership of when we connect these data points and sort of behaviors and actions within across our ecosystem.
And when you think about this too, from the member perspective, to toss that in there, is that this idea of validation, it really works best for those members when you all are treating it like a journey, not just an exam reminder.
Right. Yeah. And again, if it sort of ties to a path and an ongoing
Mhm.
goal, as opposed to just a, oh, hey, you're missing something. You got
Exactly.
something to do. It really does have a longer lasting impact for the member and the association.
Very much so. Validation is also where your authority lives. Credentials don't just represent learning, they represent trust and standards, and they signal that these are like all signals that the market actually understands, those employers understand.
Yeah, and this is where you can make the experience feel dramatically better with little effort. The key is tracking milestones, not necessarily sensitive details, right? We want to know did prep has started, has completed, potential earned, maintenance done. Not necessarily, oh, this person got this score or this, but we want to use it to track those milestones. Um, and again, we want to use those readiness milestones, right, to send ultimately fewer, better timed messages that are more impactful, so the member and the candidate feels guided, not chased, and and then when members earn credentials, right, we don't want to stop there. We want to route them forward. We want to show them relevant roles. We want to recommend advanced learning opportunities. We want to invite them to contribute. And that's really ultimately how we protect long-term credential value. The outcomes are member confidence, employer trust, and industry strength.
So true. So true. Okay, if y'all are ready for the next stage, looking at apply, diving in there. And the apply stage is where members feel immediate economic value and where the employer relationships can really shift from transactional to outcome based. Josh, can you say a little more on that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is why this all works because from an individual basis, career growth is security for me and my family. It is advancement and opportunity. It is the ability to have an impact. These things move people. And that's why it's important to leverage career as a significant part of your understanding of member behavior, and how we move them through our organization. Members are all the people are looking to land the next role or get a better job, right? Make more money so that they can better care for their family and their loved ones. It is so emotionally connected.
Yeah,
Um, and ultimately this drives relevance for your career center. It drives measurable outcomes. It drives employer revenue for the association. And it delivers better fit candidates, targeted reach, readiness signals, better placement, pipelines for employers, for the association. Again, it really hits on so many levels, and it is so interconnected and intertwined that it's super, super important and impactful in execution.
absolutely. And that career center really shouldn't be held as a standalone effort as it often can be. It really is a behavior signal source. It's giving you this behavioral data that can inform your entire engagement strategy and help make that more streamlined, efficient, and impactful.
Absolutely.
Apply. We're moving through these stages. I love this, Josh. Okay, apply. This is where your career value becomes very tangible. And it's also where many associations accidentally run into this idea of being just a job board instead of really becoming a defined or creating that defined member experience. Member experience matters.
Yeah. Yeah, because the real power isn't the job postings, it's the
Right.
behavioral signals, the saved searches, the alerts, the employer views, the event registrations. Those tell you intent and early. And so if we treat job alerts like an always on engagement loop, When somebody sets up an alert, we trigger a lightweight support, right? A resume refresh tip, short interview module, maybe a community thread to seek peer input or advice. Um, if we use employer engagement signals, right, profile views, event engagement, repeat posting, we get the ability to shift partnerships towards outcomes. And really, that's how we get to redefine exposure or visibility or clicks into long-term value, into branding, into long-term sponsorship, into partnerships that hit all of its serve member goals, that drive association outcomes, that impact the industry, that provide employers with better tools and resources and employees to move the mission, your mission, into that workplace. So ultimately, done well, the apply stage really it drives those member outcomes. This is where like okay, boom, getting people jobs. We're improving the fit for employers. We're creating new revenue opportunities and expanding long-term partnerships and ones that aren't necessarily just based on discounts, right? Or job postings, but are based on content creation and contribution and helping to train and learn. And so those employers become industry partners that are very valuable.
So my favorite line so far that you have said, Josh, is okay, boom, we're getting people jobs. That's good success measure right there. So the advanced stage, a little bit more on that, is that we're helping to solve and quiet churn problems. You probably will all relate to that, where these mid-career members start to disengage, and they do this when the experience doesn't evolve with them. So what can that look like, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, members are trying to advance. They need support to specialize, to lead, to stay resilient and relevant. And ultimately, this approach helps to drive multi-year retention, premium education growth, your leadership bench. So we really want to help members get upskilled, get into management. This provides, again, more valuable candidates and resources to employers. And as this happens, the revenue generated goes up because as your talent becomes more skilled and more niche,
Exactly.
um, your value goes up on the job board, right? So that access becomes more valuable as your talent becomes more talented.
I like that. Now, if you're really looking for a retention lift, here's something to consider. And it's really about delivering resources for members who are successful but unstuck. Give a little attention to that crowd.
Absolutely.
And by the way, before we move on, I do see a question in here about getting a copy of the recording for somebody who has to bounce a little early. And I believe we are sending that at the end of the event.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, a little more on advance. This is the stage that the associations often under design. This is where mid-career members still value the mission, but they can quietly disengage if there isn't anything that is pulling them forward.
Yeah. And this is where the success layer helps you spot growth intent. If someone enrolls in a specialized track or joins a community of practice or signals leadership interest, that's your cue to elevate the experience. So use specialization and leadership signals to deliver progress updates. What have they done? What does it mean? What are the next steps? This replaces a lot of generic messaging. It's super personalized, super individualized. Aggregate those signals to shape employer partnerships around upskilling and leadership readiness. This is what I was saying earlier. This creates opportunities for sponsorship opportunities or contribution opportunities for partners and employers to help fund education or to help create content, and to help reduce the lift on the internal teams by delivering something of significant value within a partnership that is impactful and is not seen as a threat to or a compromise, right, to members. So, the advanced stage is really where you get to turn engagement into long-term retention and industry impact. Last
Okay, on to
stage,
the pardon.
last stage.
Ta-da! We're making it, y'all. Okay, this is the lead and mentor stage where membership turns into legacy. It's where the contribution really becomes a retention engine. I mean, imagine that, right? If you think about it that way, where it's really designed as a pathway. It's not a generic volunteer list. Let's move beyond that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and senior or advanced members, they need different opportunities. They need opportunities to contribute, to be recognized, to shape the profession. Um, so this stage really helps to fill the volunteer pipeline, to create thought leadership, to advance standard stewardship, to build mentorship programs, to extend authority, drive retention.
Yeah. And by the way, if your volunteer pipeline is thin, don't start with recruitment. Start with clearer on-ramps and then smaller commitments with those. That can make a difference.
Yeah. This whole idea of sort of micro volunteers and micro tasking is super impactful. Asking people to do more smaller things really is, and it's a great way to get people engaged with something that's meaningful and impactful into the ecosystem, taking actions that are notable and trackable.
Nice. Okay, lead and mentor phase. This is where membership actually becomes identity. This is the stage where it's building your volunteer pipeline, your standards work, and your leadership bench. That's important.
And the success layer here, right, is about making contribution predictable, not a scramble, right? Getting in front of volunteer content contribution, right? So the signals are pretty simple: mentoring activity, proposal submission, committee participation, contributions. These are clear, easy signals that we can activate on. And so we have to value these members. We need to use their expertise and their past behaviors and actions to send personalized invitations, not generic volunteer blasts. Like this is how we widen the pool. We identify the right people at the right time in their right career, and we personalize the message and we activate them on a much more one-to-one personalized approach. And ultimately, uh, we want to make recognition a pathway, right? We want to move from mentor to speaker to committee member to help drive standards, right? One step at a time. And ultimately, this is how we strengthen retention. We deepen authority and ultimately we continue to have that long-term industry impact because contribution becomes this design designated journey and it's much easier to walk people down that path if we know what it is and what we need.
Great. Hey, I have an interest here in launching just a very brief poll. You good with
Yeah,
that,
let's do
Josh?
it. Yeah,
All
absolutely. I can
right.
give you a few minutes.
So excellent. If y'all would take just a quick second and tell us a little bit about yourself, just two quick questions here. We're getting some responses. Thank you all.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's always interesting to see where people are coming from and why they're here today. Oh, this is good. Numbers are still going. Okay, we're going to leave it open just for another 2, 3, 4 seconds here. Oh, still coming in, y'all. This is good. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and poll. Fantastic. And just so you all have a sense of who is here on this call too, we're going to share these results.
Very cool.
Great to see. Thank you all. Okay, so we have a little bit more to go, and then we'll do a little bit of Q&A here too.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about few predictable failure points. Nobody likes to talk about failure, but it's good to know that it happens, and then we move forward from there.
Potential failure
So
points.
yeah. So a couple things to watch out for. Treating your career center as just a job board. That's one. Here's another one. Creating too many CTAs, too many calls to action. Tracking everything instead of focusing on that stage movement like we talked about. What about that fix, Josh?
Yeah, I think, ultimately we sort of talked about this before. We want to keep those success signals small. We want them to be defined and purposeful. We want to look for repeatable operations, right? So, how can we scale these efforts, right? With the platforms and the tools that we have, and how can we use them to increase the visibility and effectiveness of our efforts. We want to leverage your trust and authority, right? That's one of the biggest assets you all have in as associations is the trust and authority that you bring to the industry. And ultimately, like if you can't explain a signal in one sentence and understand the action that we should be taking on it, it's probably not the right signal for version one. And so it might come back again later, but really we want, especially in these early stages, really should be able to understand and explain the signal, its purpose, and the action that we need to resolve from it. Um, so, here's another, I don't know if it's a great tip. It's an easy tip. No, it's a very good tip. So we audit your outgoing member emails for a week or so, right? If you're looking at the messages and they don't map to one of these stages or a next step, this is one of those opportunities for simplification, and to connect the dots. And so, um, taking a look at some of your standardized messaging, and looking at how we can align them to the stages and the needs, and using them to identify where people are at and what the next step is going to be a huge asset going forward.
And I just want to underscore something that you said there about version one, like first version. Be gentle with yourselves and roll this out in little bits and pieces. That whole idea of the micro tasks for yourself, not just for your members, in how you're rolling this out. All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, next step. Here we get down to business, right? Schedule a working session to really discuss membership, education, and the career center. Bringing those pieces together. Have that conversation with the goal of alignment, not of perfection. Step by step, not perfect, but get that alignment. Now we got 4 questions. These are guides that you can use, so give these a try. Here's the first one. Which of the 6 stages are strong and which are missing? So we've got that map for you. Take a look, check out all those stages. Be honest with yourselves about that. Which signals already exist across the ecosystem? Where are you already collecting data? What kind of data? Is it the right kind of data? And then we've got another one. Question 3, which 2 or 3 actions, right? Start small. 2 or 3 actions would create the most momentum in 90 days. Give yourself a timeline. And where can employers sponsor outcomes without compromising member trust?
I
That's an
love this
important
one.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this one because there's the nice tie-in with careers is that it opens the opportunity for sponsorship for revenue without compromising the member experience because it ultimately drives everybody's goals.
Yeah, I like it. So where
All
would
right.
people start?
Yeah, so I think pick one place to start, right? Like if acquisition is the issue, work on explore. If retention is the issue, maybe focus on prepare or advance. If credentialing value is fragile, validate. If revenue is urgent, and we all know things are shifting, um, you want to apply with work on apply, right? The apply stage with driving employer repeat participation as the main signal, right? Like how do we get more employers to activate and to engage with us more often? All right, so here we go. We're going to sort of end the session with this one decision, right? Like your first play is X and the success signal is Y. And right, if you can nail down that and start moving towards that, I think that would be a good place to start and offer a lot of perspective and discussion and strategy for your team.
Great. So thank you for spending time with us today on this. And if you take one thing back to your team, make it this. Members don't want more activity. They want momentum that they can feel.
Yeah, you know,
That's big.
engagement is often driven by momentum, and I think if what we really
Right.
want to do is use your tools and career as the momentum engine to drive that engagement. And we said it before, like career is really the most tangible place to deliver that momentum. If you connect your engagement ecosystem around purposeful data, you can make personalization super practical. You can improve adoption across your ecosystem, across all of the platforms. You can strengthen credentials and skills. You can build and expand employer relationships around outcomes and drive revenue, and do this without necessarily overwhelming staff, right?
Yeah. Thank you. So, Josh, I just uh, set it up so that we've got chat ready for our questions. Are you ready for questions, Josh?
Sure.
Great. And when you pop a question in there, it's a great idea if you can tell us your association type, which stage is most challenging right now. Actually, we'd love to hear those from everyone, even if you don't have a question. But that'll also help tailor our answers. I think we actually learned a little bit from the whole retention engagement piece we asked earlier today, but any questions? Bring them on, bring them on. Now, Josh, by the way, has been paying attention to the success layer for quite some time right now, and he's really done some deep dives with it. Josh, is there anything else that comes to mind that maybe we didn't touch here, or you really want to underscore that might be good to pass on to folks again, or leave them with?
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
put
think
him on the
that,
spot. My
yeah.
apologies.
No, and I think really the big piece is let's like start making some of these connections. You don't necessarily have to connect all of the dots, but um starting to think about how we can present and actually here's a good tip, like a career hub on your website that connects the LMS pieces, right, with the job board pieces, with your community for job seekers, with any resources or files or downloads. Like if we can start to use a page to surface all of the relevant pieces of this career journey in one place for members, that becomes very impactful. It allows us to deliver one link to drive people forward. It gives everybody a landing page and a place that is consistent and memorable and bookmarkable to return to access those resources across the
Great. And before you answer the question, I see some people are adding a few things to chat here. Can you also pop up maybe slide number 5 again, just so we can get that career success journey, that map in front of folks again?
sorry, which one?
I think slide 5 maybe,
Mm,
where we just can see the 6 stages.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Tina, absolutely. There's no doubt that engaging a large number of members gets complicated. I think there are some ways, again, that if we think about identifying the stages, right, and what indicates that somebody is in those stages, it's it allows us to not necessarily look at all individual 200,000 members, but who fits into the six stages, right? So it helps us to bucket slightly differently, but also to better serve the journey, hopefully.
Great question, Tina. Or great point there. Any other questions?
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Hopefully, this was helpful and useful, and you got some insight to take away and make actionable. And again, even if it's just one small data point that we're using to make a decision, that's a step forward.
And I do want to encourage you to, you're going to see a little pop-up screen before you totally exit out of Zoom. That's a little survey. I think it's just two questions. If you could just answer that so that we can continue to get better at what we do to deliver the kinds of resources that are going to be beneficial to you all. Thank you,
Totally.
Josh. And thank you
Thank you,
all for
Courtney.
coming.
Thanks,
Such a
everybody.
pleasure.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Have a good one, everybody.